Meeting called to order at 7:08 on February 19th, 2020. We'll go ahead and start into a roll call. Advet, Olicard, Bender, Blair, Khan, Crab, Colbertson, Dollinger, Fritz, Green, Gonzalez, Hanyang, Keasley, Johnson, Class, Klein, Lifford, Ludwig, Mass, Meredith, Mitchell, Origer, Rice, Rinchi, Rolling, Samanu, Schrader, Searles, Stanley, Samuel, Tonet, Zastro. We do have quorum. Moving on to Pledge of Allegiance led by Madam Speaker. Since we don't have any programs for tonight, we'll go ahead and move into open forum. Open forum is an open discussion for issues relevant to students. Anyone wishing to speak can approach the lectern.
Oh, can you hear me? Reasonably well. Here. So I'm a business and engineering student, and currently I am in multiple projects, as I'm sure most of you are. In one of my projects, one of my group mates over the last several milestone submissions has been plagiarizing their work. And I don't mean like good plagiarism, we paraphrased, I mean like copy and paste, bad plagiarism. And the bad part is about this, with the current policy the way it is for academic integrity, I and other group mates are technically liable for this individual's contributions to work. So we all assume that people are going to cite their work and provide references and other things in their material, but we don't have the tools to verify who's actually doing this correctly or if there is plagiarism in the work. So right now we can run it through an online free plagiarism checker, but we have no tools through ISU to do this unless a teacher opens up a Turnitin portal on Canvas. So for me, what I would like to see is that a Turnitin is made available to all students throughout the year at any point in time so that they can check their own work and verify that they aren't plagiarizing and that they're not misleading the reader to believe that somebody else's work is their own, or also in group projects that they can lessen their liability when it comes to other people's work. So right now I'm having to deal with getting out of this group and undoing this mess, and thank goodness we use Google Docs because it has documentation for who contributed what. But without such documentation for who contributed what, myself and the other 3 group mates would be liable for this one individual's actions. So I was hoping y'all could help me get this taken care of.
Director of IT, Shubham.
Hello. First off, I'm sorry you're in this situation. Is this on?
Me too.
Yeah, so I'm the director of IT. I can tell you, based on the plagiarism point you were talking about, we recently implemented Grammarly, and it has plagiarism tools you can utilize. It is the premium version, so I don't know how helpful that would be, but I'm sorry, but that's if you want to use it, that's available. But I cannot guide you of how. I'm not a senator, but like how do you? But like there's a tool available if you want to use to verify for plagiarism. But yeah, I can.
No, I have Grammarly. Honestly, I used it and it didn't catch it, which is
okay.
The bad part and surprising part. And I did speak with information systems before coming here. I actually pestered them first.
All right.
And they refused to help me initially because what it took was to give access to it, a teacher had to open up a assignment that allowed you to upload a document without it going and being submitted to the professor. But each teacher has to do this for you, or you have to set up that there's a new precedence that every student has when they enroll and they start at ISU, has a blank class and they have one assignment in there that they could just dump things through as well. So, go ahead.
President Graber.
Yeah, great questions. We can work with you to bring this up to Provost Wickert, and then see if it's like a faculty senate type of issue that they can work from that end, if that makes sense. Because as students, we shouldn't have to, and you shouldn't have to be the ones who's checking this. So we can work with you after the meeting and get your contact information so we can.
Yeah.
I already do.
Sweet.
We got
So we can work with Provost Wickert on that. But yeah, thank you for coming as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Crystal. Further speakers for open forum. Seeing none, we move down to adopting tonight's agenda. Are there any changes or additions to tonight's agenda? Senator Zastro.
Under General Orders 2019-3-021F, I believe was voted on last week. Is that correct? So, is that a friendly to the agenda?
You can just move to strike the.
Move to strike it from tonight's agenda.
There's been a motion to strike 2019-3-21F, funding an AV Tech for SC debates from tonight's agenda, and there's been a second. Are there any objections? Seeing none, the bill has been struck from the agenda.
I yield.
There's been a motion to move to approve tonight's agenda. And is there a second? There's been a second. Are there any objections? Seeing none, the agenda has been adopted. Moving down to approval of last week's meeting minutes. Are there any changes to last week's meeting minutes? There's been a motion to move to approve last week's minutes, and there's been a second. Are there any objections? Seeing none, the minutes stands approved. Moving down. There's been a motion to add Senator Johnson to the roll call. There's been a second. Are there any objections? Seeing none, Senator Johnson has been added. Moving on to committee reports, starting off with rules with Madam Speaker.
Okay, so we met on Monday and we talked about 2019-3-013Y and we sent it to you all favorably. We will have an amendment to make to it when we get to that. So that's all.
Questions for Madam Speaker? Seeing none, we move down to Finance Committee with Vice Chair Lipford.
Hello. So annual started last night. It's exciting. We saw a few clubs last night. A lot of great budgets, so that made it easy for us. But definitely just the tip of the iceberg so far. We have two funding bills tonight that we're going to see. We're going to see a Healthy Walk that was sent favorably in committee, and Descarga Latin Dance Club, and that was sent with no bias. So note that. And so, just with annuals, come visit us. We'd enjoy it. Bring us food. It's a long process. I yield.
Questions for Vice Chair Lipford? Seeing none, we move down to our SI Committee with Senator Rowling.
Hi, everybody. Just a few updates on the SI end. We have our funding the Healthy Walk bill that's coming up tonight for second read. So go ahead and take a look at that if you haven't already. To update, SI is working together with a couple people from Diversity Inclusion on Heroes Week. Hyatt and Alex Klein are working very hard on that. And just as a little bit of an update, the rooms have been properly reserved and speakers are being reached out to in the meantime. In addition, we were able to select 5 outstanding women for the banners. They have been emailed and a couple have already responded. So special shout out to all the senators who helped with that, and additional special shout out to Senator Ludwig, who accidentally did twice the needed work. So there you go. But other than that, go ahead and take a look at the funding the Healthy Walk bill that we'll be seeing later tonight. I yield.
Questions for Senator Rowling? Seeing none, we move down to PR Committee with Senator Han-Young.
PR did not meet yesterday because the candidate open houses were happening on Monday, and then they will be happening again on Friday. We had a lot of senator candidates come into those to do their election requirement. So we had a lot of people chatting, a lot of people getting to know each other about the process, sharing ideas about what they could bring to student government in the next year. So it was really good to see all of them. Tell your friends to come in. We've got a lot of pizza there and hopefully some drinks on Friday too. So we'd love to see you at 3:30 at Parks.
Questions for Senator Hanyang? Seeing none, we move on to diversity and inclusion with Director Hoffman.
Good evening, everyone. So instead of having our regular meeting last night, we went to the Students Against Racism meeting. If anybody has any questions about that specifically, please feel free to come talk to me, talk to Austin, talk to Vish. All three of us were there. I had to leave early to study for an exam, but we can definitely tell you what went on. Otherwise, on their Facebook page, they live streamed the whole thing, so you can also pull up the live stream if needed. And then the other big announcement that I have is just the 5K for DACA. I sent out the information to everybody. If anybody has any questions again on that, or just kind of wants to know what does that look like and everything, please feel free to contact me. It's a really, I want to highlight again, a really great opportunity to help students here on campus and to really show support to those who otherwise feel ostracized from the community. So I just want to really highlight that that's a great opportunity to show some solidarity.
Questions for Director Hoffman? Seeing none, we move on to Civic Engagement Committee with our beautiful Senator Tonette.
Hello, everybody. So Civic Engagement didn't meet last week because I think the wind chill was like -20 or -30 that night on Thursday. So just wanted everyone to be safe. Some things we're working on. We're still trying to make some headway with the DOR on trying to implement civic engagement type things. Running into quite a few roadblocks coming from the DOR. So we're still trying to work on that. But that's one of the things we're really trying to do is, you know, maybe get voter registration forms in the move-in packets in the dorms, or maybe even just set voter registration forms at the hall desks for people to mail out after they're done. Those are some of the things we're working on. Like I said, a lot of roadblocks, so we're trying our best.
Questions for Senator Tonette? Senator Zastro.
So we had somebody come in last week to IRHA to talk about getting a resolution passed saying that people living in dorms want to have that. So that's something that IRHA is going to be working on.
Further questions for Senator Tonette? Senator Zastro, do you yield? Moving on, comments from the executive branch with President Graber.
Hello, everyone. Just a few updates. The first one is I sent out inauguration and end-of-year celebration invitations. Feel free to RSVP. You don't have to reply all. If you want to, you can. That's okay. Not adding anyone. But feel free. That's going to be a great celebration. But just please RSVP so we do know who is coming. And then we had a cabinet meeting on Monday. A lot of that was about Big 12 on the Hill, which is next week. I'll talk about that after this point. And then another thing we talked about was medical amnesty and our wonderful state relations people over there. So Cassie, do you have any updates on medical amnesty you want to talk about?
Yeah, so we are going to so tomorrow they are running it through the House committee. So this week is funnel week, so that means if bills do not make it out of a committee on either chamber, then it is dead and no longer viable for the rest of session. So we are crossing our fingers. Tomorrow it goes through committee. We're very hopeful. So, yeah, good news.
Good work. In addition, we got updates on the Sustainability Committee, and Sci Night will take place on March 27th at 7 p.m. You should have all got the mass email as well, so if you want to show off any talents during Sci Night, feel free to sign up for that. In addition, we, like I said, we're going to Big 12 on the Hill next week, so that's when we, 6 people, it'll be myself, Vishesh, Chief of Staff Kuzal, Nick, Cassie, and then Izzy. We'll be heading down to DC for the week, except for Friday, so we'll be back then. Sorry, I don't know why I said that. Anyways, we'll be over there talking with legislators, meeting with them, talking about student issues. 2 things that specifically we're talking about are mental health and then affordability are going to be the big ones. So I've been collecting statistics that we can send out to K-State, and then they can compile them on behalf of the entire Big 12 so we can lobby more effectively. And then lastly, I got reached out to by the IT department, and there's a student multi-factor authentication activation thing is that they're sending out. So starting March 25th, the ITS will begin requiring segments of students, graduate and undergraduate students, to activate their multi-factor authentication activation. Do you want to speak on that, Shabam? Or
So I have to use for my on-campus job. So pretty much staff already does it. So what students you have to do is the instructions are in there to go do it. Pretty much. So now every time you sign into your email, Cybox, anything that you have to use that, you have to have a second authentication. So I recommend downloading the app. It'll send a push notification. You just be like, yep, that's me. And then it signs you in. It's not super hard. You can do text messages too, but the app is nice. Like I can even just do it on my watch. Like it'll come up and I just hit the button. So it's just another safety feature like Google does it. But yeah.
It's through the system of Okta, so
Yep.
whenever you sign in with any Iowa State system, it's going to do that.
And then if you read the executive update, it's actually on the last page of how to do that. So feel free to look at that, and it'll show you how to do that. But do that before March 25th, so then it's not crazy. And then lastly, as Elena mentioned, the Student Against Racism meeting was yesterday. I went and talked to some of the students after just to see how we can, again, continue to assist them. And two things in particular that we'll be working on with them going forward is the U.S. diversity requirement that we've already starting to work on, try to get them in the loop on that to implement those outcomes. And then the second thing is the student conduct advisory board that they asked for in their demands. How can we, it's not student conduct, it's there's an OEO advisory committee that they would want, that they want to create, and I felt like we could provide some more structure to that, so we'll be meeting with them on that. I butchered that, but you get the gist. Any questions?
Questions for President Graber? Seeing none, we move down to external matters. Within external matters, General Orders 2019-3-20F. How do you say? I don't want to butcher this. Descarga.
Oh, yeah.
Funding Descarga Latin dance with Senator Class.
So if you want to go to, yeah, thank you, Senator Zastro. And then if you want to talk about what you're asking funding for and your club.
Okay. Hello. I'm the social chair for Descarga. And CSBF is a 3-day event with 30 classes a day teaching different Latin dances like salsa bachata, which is what we mainly teach to our students in the club. And it's an opportunity for us to bring back, because CSBF pretty much brings together some of the best teachers, and it's important for us because we're entirely student run, and it's really difficult to get good teaching lessons. It's where we will get our knowledge for the year that will go through to the club. And so, yeah, it's essentially 3 days of classes, 30 classes a day, and then there's a social dance after to practice your work. And so, yeah.
Yeah, so we sent it no bias because we were asking them for more information. Do you know if you guys, I don't remember what we were asking for.
Madison messaged us and CC'd the president, so they've been talking, so.
The president of your club?
Yes.
Got it. Not him.
Oh, yeah.
No, you're good.
No. Well, maybe,
Okay.
I don't know.
Do you have that information available or no?
I don't on me.
Okay.
Questions? Further discussion? Vice Speaker Schroeder.
So I'm going to guess that this hinges on whether it's a conference or not. So in your view, do you think this satisfies the requirements of what a conference would be?
I think a learning conference, yes.
Yeah. And are there other schools there that are going to be there as well?
I'm sure there will be, but I don't know of specifics.
Okay. And is it primarily for students, or is it for like any Latin club that exists in the United States?
It's open to any person who's interested in Latin dance. So.
Yeah. And do you know if there's so the breakout sessions are mostly just like dance lessons and that sort of thing?
Yeah, there's different lessons on different parts of salsa bachata, and there's other classes as well, but those two are the ones that most of the students come to learn at the club, so those will be the ones we'll be focusing on.
Okay. All right. Thanks for answering some questions.
Okay, thank you.
Senator Rowling.
Hi. Thank you so much for coming tonight. I have a few different thoughts on this. One of the biggest concerns for those of you that read the finance minutes is that we cannot separate the cost of the event from the cost of these workshops. past a certain point, past the point of the workshops, it turns into a very large dance party. And if you read the website that is on that I sent out for everyone to be able to access, at one point it's even explicitly mentioned as the biggest rave in Chicago. I'm not sure if this is something that we want to be funding. I think that there are alternative workshops that these guys can go to where we don't have to even worry about separating this fee from the workshops as opposed to the ticket. But we have to purchase the entire ticket for these people to be able to go to the workshops in addition. If I wanted to take myself and 5 other senators to Coachella and go to a leadership conference there, I'm not going for the leadership conference. I'm going to Coachella. I think there's a lot that we need to discuss about this because personally I don't foresee it being a conference by our own specifications and how we fund other clubs. So I'm open to hear discussion about it, but I have a lot of concerns about this.
Am I supposed to say something about that? Oh, yeah, and I understand. Yeah, that's there. After it's a social dance. I don't know why I'd say it's a rave because I mean it's all Latin, and so you'll be doing salsa, and it's not rave in the sense that most people are familiar with. Latin dance is pretty. I mean it's definitely fun, and that's why people join our club. But there's a lot of technical skill that goes into being able to enjoy the process, which is why there's so many intensive classes for the entirety of the day. So. I mean, I understand, and the only thing is that this is probably one of the best opportunities for us to learn, and students really need it because if we don't have enough training for them, adequate training and competent training, then they'll stop attending the club because they'll hit the ceiling very fast, the skill ceiling.
Senator Lippert.
I just want to point out that there is the individual workshops that is great, where they learn the different dances and such, but for this, what we're paying for is their registration to get into the festival, not to the individual camps. So maybe I'm misspeaking.
Yes, Madison had talked to me about that too, so there's a difference between the workshops and the clubs, and with the ticket you get all 30 workshops a day. All the classes are included. A camp is something that's specific. You get like a one-on-one teaching with like a world-renowned teacher, which we're not looking for. We think 30 classes a day will be enough to bring back quite a bit of skill for the club. But so yeah, they're different. So the ticket includes every class for every day.
Senator Lippert, do you yield? Senator Han Young.
May I address the speaker? Thanks for coming in. There's said 5 people that you're going with. Could you say who the 5 people are and what roles they play in your club?
Okay, yes. We have our main instructor, Yuna, and she pretty much handles our Tuesday advanced and beginner lessons for most of us. Our president and one of our financial chairs, and then 2 other students with us who are very interested in dancing so far.
And how many students are in your club?
We have about 25 regularly,
25, okay.
But there's more that will come, especially we had a dance event at the MU in the sunroom, and quite a few people would attend those.
Is the intention of going to this conference to go back and teach then the things you learned?
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's why we primarily are trying to bring leadership so that it will diffuse down to all the students because, like I said, last year, the people who went to this have graduated, and so when they graduated, they took a lot of that skill with them, and so we're really needing to build that skill base back up because we want our students to continue to come to classes before they reach ceiling, which I personally find important because I mean, I love the club, of course, but I think a lot of people find community there, and so just trying to make it continue to bring something important.
And you did mention that you had attended this event, or the club had attended this event before, but have you ever looked at other conferences that have similar teaching, but maybe are structured a little bit differently or are still in the region, have the same stuff, but just are different?
Yeah, we try to keep updated on teaching events that happen around the area, and well, there's nothing really like CSBF. I mean, there's a reason it's so world renowned. They have the best teachers, and for the amount of classes you get per day, it's from the teachers that we are aspiring to be like. They say it's the best way to. It's the how you have to learn the skills.
Okay, and I do have just 2 more questions for you.
Mhm.
First of all,
No,
have you ever attended this event personally?
I have not, no.
Okay, has anybody from your club who is a current member attended this event?
No.
Okay. Personally, since the president's not here. and
Oh
it
wait,
seems like
yes,
he-
actually.
Oh yes.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yes. Our head instructor has.
Head instructor has.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
I would be more interested in learning about this event from somebody who had attended in the past, specifically from the concerns that Senator Rowling was stating. So as of now, I would be in favor, since the event doesn't happen until April, unless there's a deadline on it, to table it at least a week. It seems like there's a lot of unanswered questions with this, and that's my main concern. It's nothing against the validity of it or the validity of your request. I think there's just a lot more we need to find out before we can approve it. So I yield.
Okay. I'm going to say that this is not in need of a tabling, and it is a conference. I'll make that argument. One, if you look at the website, it's very easy to see that there's a very clear schedule, multiple rooms, multiple lessons, multiple workshops going on. Coming from a science field, a scientific conference would have very much the same kind of schedule. Now, this is called a festival because there's dancing involved. I would like to see a dance conference where nobody dances. That sounds terrible. There's no professional skill that's going to be taken out of this if they're not actually going to be able to sit and dance and practice the skill. Also, at scientific councils, there are social hours. There are times where people play games, get together, they have drinks, they play Science Jeopardy, or they swap research slides and they try to explain someone else's science. That's not a professional conference type of thing, but it's still very much a fun team building thing that takes place at formal conferences. So if you look at the schedule and you look at the night events and you try to base this event on the night events, I don't think that's an accurate representation, because we wouldn't do that for any other conference that comes through here. We look at the skills that are going to be taken away. Now, when you're talking about a dance festival, conference, organization, event, there are skills that are going to be taken away as demonstrated, and the plan, as clearly highlighted, was to get these skills and then be able to diffuse that into the club. Most conferences, a lot of people go to pitch their own research. They don't even try to go to come back with their own set of skills to then diffuse into a club. So I would argue that this is actually more impactful to the club than a lot of the conferences we have funded in the past. Now, I'm not a dancer myself. I'm horrible at it, so I don't have experience with things like this. But I think for me to try to understand more because there's going to be dancing at a dancing event, I think that I'm missing the point. You're going to go and you're going to learn. That's the intention, correct?
Yes.
And it's going to be fun, correct?
I would hope so, yeah.
Yeah, I hope so too. It sounds like a great time, especially if that's something you're interested in. I think that if you look at the categories, just because it's not a professional or serious gathering, one, I think it is. I think having a festival is a serious gathering. And the dancing is just practicing the skills. So I'm making the argument that this is a conference. We can't dictate that it's not a conference because it's not purely academic. I think that you could say it is a conference, and there are night events, there are parties that they go to, there are big dances, just like there are at professional conferences. That's my standpoint. I would urge you to see it the same way, so we're not limiting based on professionalism. That's the reason we have so many clubs on campus and wonderful events like this to share different cultures. I'm fully in support of this. I think it's great, and I yield.
Senator Gonzalez.
Okay, so I have a few things. Point of information. I don't see where it says that it's the biggest rave.
Do you want to direct that question
At finance committee? I know it says it's home of one of the Midwest's largest Latin music and dance festival, but I don't see rave. because rave is like not like it just you guys know like the connotation it has with it. So if it's just like a festival, like that makes way more sense than a rave. Also, I have a couple things to say. Also, just like being from Latin culture, they're not gonna market a festival. Going off of what like Ian said, they're not going to market a festival and a workshop in the same manner that they would like a science workshop. Obviously, they want to attract like people who are from this culture and understand like the importance of expression and community. And I would just have to agree that like, I mean, it may not look like a conference in the traditional sense, but I do think that it would be beneficial for this group to be able to go. I yield.
Senator Johnson.
I want to build on that as well. I did do ballroom dance in college, and these kind of events, the things that happen later are what, like you have to have open floor time in order to practice the skills that you learned during the day. I think that's an essential part of a conference like this. Also, I agree with what Senator Gonzalez said. The page just looks like marketing, but if you look behind the scenes, it looks very much like a conference that we would go to for any other organization. And I want to say thank you for bringing all of the happiness that salsa brings to
Thank you.
To yield. Senator Stanley.
May I address the speaker?
Yes.
So I'm looking at the Finance Committee minutes here, and a few questions were asked that you didn't have the information for at the time, so hopefully you've consulted, you have a bit more insight now. They asked if you had been to annuals, and you haven't, and they asked why. Do you have any more information on why you weren't at annuals now?
So yeah, so this is my first year on the club, and what it is that our last president had just graduated this year, and so I think there was a lot that we were trying to figure out outside of that. So far, we've been pretty good. We did it yesterday, so now that we've become more organized, we've got that down. But our president and another key member graduated, and there's a lot of transitioning going on.
Sure, perfectly understandable. So you mentioned earlier that we funded this event last year. I note in the funding bill from last year that the conference registration line item, which is the only information that was available, was marked at $150 a person for 6 people for a total of $900, of which we paid $450. Was that a different conference? Are you signing up for something new here? Why did the cost for the conference jump by $75 a person?
I'm not sure. I'm just going off the website.
Sure.
I'm not sure.
Could anyone from Finance Committee answer that? Okay, that's fine. I guess my next question then will be, what was the process like whereby some of your club members determined that you wanted to go to the event? Like, did one of your leadership say, oh, I found this event, I think it's cool, I brought it up to the rest of the club, they were like, yeah, this sounds cool. Just walk me through, I guess, the thought process here.
Our last president, who is an amazing dancer, and actually owns his own dance company in Wisconsin now, swore by CSBF. It's how he said he was able to get the skills to be president of the club. And so it was kind of assumed that when he left that you guys better go, because it's what will keep the club relevant with new skills and such. So it was pretty much based on the experience of previous leadership that we decided CSBF was a really good idea.
Sure. And you noted earlier that you wished leadership to go because leadership in the past had all graduated, the people who attended this conference. I suppose that there's perhaps an inherent contradiction in that. Let me see if I can express it elegantly. If the leadership who went last year have all graduated and now no one is left to carry on those lessons, was there a different mindset in the club last year among the people who wish to go to this event?
What do you mean?
If you want, I suppose the idea of what you're asking for with these 5 people who wish to go to the conference is to pass these lessons on to
Mhm.
your juniors in the club, I suppose.
Mhm.
So if that's the case now, was that not the case last year with the people who wish to go, since all of them have graduated now?
So you're asking, I guess, are you asking why go?
I suppose I'm asking, why did you send 5 people last year who graduated to this conference and would not be returning this year?
Oh, well, there's one actually still here. And I think that it impacted the club pretty importantly. I started I started last year in the club, and I mean, it's through the lessons that they gave and all the stuff that they learned that I have become so interested in and found so much fun in it. So I mean, I guess, like I said, I wasn't on the leadership team last year to explain who, when, and why, but I think they just sent leadership to it. But it was still important for the club, and I think a lot of the people who are in it now and love the club do so because of what was diffused into the club from those teaching experiences that the president and the other leadership experienced.
Sure, thank you. I'll say a few words on this bill and my opinion on it. I understand the concerns around the perhaps vague nature of this event. The fact that we can't determine what exactly is going to be going on with these students who are going is a legitimate concern, I think, and is not merely splitting hairs. But I think we're always striving for innovation in how we serve students, are we not? And I think that holding it against a club who has found a new and innovative way to serve their own students, I think holding that innovation against them would be doing our constituents a disservice. So I think that I'm in support of this bill at the moment, unless somebody can convince me otherwise. And I look forward to hearing your arguments. With that, I'll yield.
Sarah, class.
Okay, so I had one question and then some comments. Is there any conferences closer than Chicago, I guess we'll say, that you can do this for or like learn this at, or is this kind of the best one maybe?
So the other conference is in Tampa Bay, Florida, I believe.
Okay, so not close.
And then there's a third one, but I can't remember where it's at, and I don't think it's any closer.
Okay.
So, and I mean specifically, it's a little unique too in what it has to offer.
Yeah. So to speak a little bit about finance committee's thoughts, the rave part came in that on like the tickets page, it's like a keyword on it. Like if you look up rave events in Chicago, it pulls up. So that's where we're kind of pulling that from. That's how that got into the conversation. Secondly, when we looked at this 2 weeks ago, because they didn't come for first read or I guess a week ago, they didn't come for first read yesterday. They came for to see finance committee last week. The schedule was not filled out for the workshops and things like that. Another reason why we sent it no bias, and also another reason why we were kind of more concerned possibly than we are now, because that was not filled out at the time. It's in April. They're getting everything figured out, I'm assuming. I think if we had a club come through that was for ballroom dancing, we would probably say yes, because that's not fun and peppy, and the marketing would be very different. I had a very hard time seeing through the marketing. I think that this is good, and I think that they're going to learn to bring it back to their club. Their club is for Latin dance. They're going to a conference to learn Latin dance. As everyone has said, there are activities at night, but every conference has that. In a sense, I'm I had a hard time overlooking my own bias against it, I guess, just because of the marketing and just because I don't want to fund things that you could say are a party or a rave or things like that. So I had a hard time looking past it with everyone's arguments, with the workshop schedule filled out. I think it is a conference. I think that it is synonymous to other clubs, but the marketing is what changed it and changed how people saw it. And I'm going to yield.
Hi, so thanks for coming in. I just have the CFBF website pulled up right now, so I'll just read their little about statement so we just can get a clear picture of, what exactly this conference is. So it says the CSBF Festival 2020 will be held April 9th through 12th at the beautiful Hyatt Regency Hotel in Chicago, home of the Midwest's largest Latin music and dance festival. CSBF is a celebration of Latin culture through live music and dance attended by a diverse international audience. Also, for attendees looking to be adventurous or take their dancing skills to the next level, we provide instructional dance classes from beginner to advanced with a lineup of world-class local and international dance artists. At night, CSBF brings out the entertainment. Each evening begins with live dance showcases that are sure to wow any audience with a mix of acrobatic, sexy, and high-energy performances. We then move on to live music with internationally recognized artists and then end the evening with some of the best tropical music DJs in the world to ensure you dance the entire night away. CSBF is an event that provides something for everyone, and we hope you join us for the fun. So I think that statement shows, there are multiple parts. There's the workshop part. There's the party part afterwards to dance, but then there's also artists that come in and DJs. So the artists that are coming are Grupo Extra and Kwin Cosmos. So, I think that if we fund this, we have to recognize that while, yes, there are workshops for this event, there are also, this is paying for concert tickets. This is paying for artists to perform. So this is not purely a workshop conference. It's a component of it, but, we do have to recognize that this is kind of like paying for concert tickets as well. So that's just something I thought I would bring up, just so we're fully aware of what this whole conference is. Thank you. I yield.
Senator Zastro.
Yeah, so listening to Senator Klass, it's funny, we actually had, I think, the exact same shift of thought over the course of the reading of this bill. I do have one question. So Senator Stanley mentioned a good point, I think, which is that people who had previously gone to this concert, or sorry, to the conference, have graduated. So what are the the ages or the years of the people who are planning on going this year?
So I have 2 more years. Ayuna has, at least 2 more years. She's doing a PhD program. Our president has 1 more year after this year. And I don't know about the 2 students. Can't say.
Awesome. I'm really glad that people who are going to the conference will be able to bring back the skills that they'll be able to disseminate to the club. Also say that having gone to this club, I think the leadership might be able to attract even more new dancers to grow the club, and I think things that grow the club are the exact kind of conferences that we want to be funding. I think this is a good thing. It's true that we are funding activities that aren't just for the conference, but as Senator Searles has said, every single conference is going to be not just a conference, sit down and watch slides for 12 hours, and it would be pretty miserable if it was. So I really do think this is a good bill, and I hope you really consider what benefits this would bring to the club. I yield.
Senator Heasley.
Yeah, so we've pretty much just been talking in circles about, after we discovered that this is a conference based on the 30-plus workshops, it's something that would be similar. I don't know if anyone was in FFA in high school. Sorry, Tupper. It's synonymous with that. I would say I wasn't actually either, but people that go to the big conferences, they'd have big country stars come in. I'd say that's similar with just the point that Senator Fritz brought up. So I think most of us in this room can agree that this is probably, I think we can say it's a conference and that it's fundable. So I'm going to call to question.
Speaker Culbertson.
Okay, first I just want to say thank you for answering so many questions that I never would have in a million years expected you to know. So thank you for standing up here and dealing with all of this.
Of course, I love it,
I
actually.
also just wanted to say, yeah, that most conferences do have some element of fun, or else no one would want to go. I hate to break it to you all, but you fund us going to Big 12 on the Hill, Presidential Leadership Conference, and if you think that we don't like take the time to just like hang out and like talk with people outside of like the actual conferences, then that's unfortunate. That's not what happens. So every conference has some element of like fun or like hangout time, or when you get to just do what makes you happy. So if having awesome artists come so everyone can dance and have a good time while they learn is what this conference is, then I think that's great. So I will yield, and hopefully we can call the question soon, because you've been up there for way too long. So thank you.
Thank you.
Senator Searles.
Yeah, sorry for objecting. Not really sorry for objecting. I think there's a lot of things that need to be said. I think it's really problematic that we've been talking about this for 30 minutes. I'm going to go over this really quick, and then I will call the question. My point stands. I am in support of this bill. I'd like to say that I don't ever remember, maybe I'm wrong, asking people if they can find closer conferences or conferences that are better for us. I think that's incredibly problematic that we thought of doing that when it's outlined. This is Chicago. That's a very close major city. That question, multiple people have brought it up. I'm not singling anyone out in any of my points. This has been a talking point multiple times. That to me is ridiculous. I don't think we should have done that to you. I would like to apologize for that. You had already addressed my next point, are any leadership people that are graduating. We spent a lot of time on that when we could have just asked that. You said multiple people have many years. There's literally an hourly itinerary on the website, so not knowing what they're doing is false. $225 is the full pass. If you look at the tickets, it's $225 for the full pass, which gives you the classes. $110 is the party pass, which is just for the night activities. They're not spending less money to just party, so it's pretty clear what the intent is. I'd also like to just say that multiple people have said if it were the ballroom class or the ballroom club, we wouldn't have a problem funding it. So I'd like to ask us, why are we so inclined to fund ballroom, but when it's a Latin dance club, we have a problem with it? Is that not an inherent bias there? Maybe I'm seeing it wrong, but that seems like an inherent bias there. As soon as there is some cultural dance club, we have a problem. We spend 30 minutes debating a $600 funding request from a $16,000 budget. That seems like an issue to me. I'm going to call the question when I'm done with this, but the reason I objected is because we spent half an hour debating this thing, and it should have been a lot simpler. We identified pretty quick that this is kind of a standard conference scenario because all conferences include fun time. So I'm sorry for objecting and giving you a few more times. We spent so much time wasting your time. I'm sorry for that. We shouldn't have done that. There were inherent biases here. I'm 99% sure of it. Call the question.
There's been a call to question on the bill as a whole, and there's been a second. Are there any objections? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move into a roll call. Senator Bender. Yes. Blair. Yes. Khan. Yes. Culbertson. Yes. Dallinger. Yes. Fritz. Green. Yes. Gonzalez. Yes. Han Young. Yes. Heasley. Yes. Johnson. Yes. Class. Yes. Lifford. Yes. Klein. Yes. Ludwig. Yes. Mass. Yes. Meredith. Yes. Mitchell. Yes. Rolling. Yes. Schrader. Yes. Searles. Yes. Stanley. Yes. Zastro. Yes. Fritz. Yes. With a vote of 23 to 0 to 0, this funding request passes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming.
Awesome.
We're going moving to internal matters. Within internal matters, general orders 2019-3-22F, funding Healthy Walk with Senator Class. Senator Rowling.
Hi, everybody. So this is a bill that is funding a project that's coming out of SI that is currently being headed by Senator Rice. He unfortunately cannot be here tonight as he is still dealing with illness. Just to speak briefly on this bill, this is something he's been working on since about December. He had been a part of a similar event that took place when he spent some time at DMAC a couple years ago and wanted to see that brought to Iowa State's campus. He has reached out to Student Health and Wellness, and they are interested in hosting one of the tables that will take place every quarter mile of this walk. And he has been in contact with event authorization and attempting to get this authorized. If you have any further questions about the event, I'm open to them to clarify any further.
Questions, discussion. There's been a call to question on the bill as a whole. Is there a sec? There's been a second. Are there any objections? Seeing none, we'll move into a roll call vote. Senator Bender. Blair. Khan. Coviton. Dallinger. Fritz. Green. Gonzalez. Hanyang. Heasley. Johnson. Class. Klein. Lippert. Ludwig. Mass. Meredith. Mitchell. Rolling. Schrader. Searles. Stanley. Zastra. With a vote of 23 to 0, this funding request passes. Moving on to 2019-3-13Y, Chapter 11 rewrite with Speaker Culbertson.
Hello. Okay, so I'm sending you right now a Word doc that kind of has the major changes on it from Chapter 11, since we didn't highlight them in the one we actually sent you all. So I just sent it, but I'll explain that a lot of the changes we made, well, everything we talked about, we talked to Finance Committee about, and we have one amendment that we want to make, but it's going to involve some discussion. So I moved to make the Rules Committee amendment now.
There's been a motion to move to amend and accept the Rules Committee amendments, and there's been a second. We move into discussion. Speaker Culbertson.
Fabulous. Okay. Okay, well, I'll explain it first. So when we had Finance and Rules kind of like joint meeting, we talked about the Green Initiatives Fund and how we couldn't decide if they should come through Senate or if they should not come through Senate. So that's where we kind of wanted all of your input on whether the Green Initiatives Fund should just go kind of through Finance Committee, and that would be, they would just make sure they go through Finance Committee to make sure that everything's good there, or if every Green Initiatives request should come to Senate. So yeah, I will yield for now, but I would love to hear everyone's kind of thoughts on it. So I yield.
Senator Klein.
So I actually just have a question. Where do the funds that are in the sustainability fund come from?
So we set aside, tell me if I'm wrong, we set aside a certain amount of money each year that goes into the Green Initiatives Fund. And so basically the fund is just kind of almost like an account, so it sits, and then once there's an initiative that they want to pursue, they'll write a bill for it. And as of right now, it comes to Senate, right? Oh, here we go. Izzy, please let me know.
I'll just talk a little bit on that. So right now what the process is there's an application that comes through the Sustainability Committee, and we start off by voting on that, and then we sent our vote count sheet in the bill to Finance Committee, who reviews it, and then it's sent further on to Senate. So all three have to vote on it.
Fabulous. Okay, yeah, so right now, that's the process. It comes here. So we're trying to decide now whether it should continue to come to Senate, or if we should just allow them to go to Finance to kind of speed up that process a little bit. So I yield. Oh, yeah, sorry.
Thank you. I yield. Okay.
Senator Heasley.
So is the initial purpose for this amendment just to to speed up the process?
From what I can remember, I think that was it. I think they just figured that like Finance Committee has enough sense to look at things and say, okay, yep, this follows our like whatever criteria needs to with the Green Initiatives account, and like just kind of make sure that everything's going the way it is. Some of the requests aren't necessarily like big or anything either, so when they come through Senate, like it's like, oh, okay, yeah, you know. So if Finance Committee can look at it and like move that process along faster and allow those projects to start a little earlier, I think that was the initial kind of thought process.
Okay. And Senator Stanley, did you have a different idea?
Yeah, so the reason that we made this amendment in rules is to bring it in line with the revisions that we made to the Green Fund at the end of last year. I believe it was during the last meeting of the term, the 2018-19 term. That was the Chapter 11 rewrite bill that we did last year, and so this is just moving this into compliance with that.
Okay, I guess that makes sense, so that's all I have. I yield.
Senator Stanley,
Moving down.
Vice Speaker Schrader.
Yeah, so I would be against this amendment, and I don't know if the Green Fund needs to come through Senate. I don't really see the point in, why would Sustainability Committee vote on it and then it goes through Finance Committee and then Senate? When that is, then we should just write a normal bill to take it out of Green Fund. And it should just be the special projects account. I think that if we're gonna have a Sustainability Committee, they're probably the experts on, what is important for that account. And I am fine leaving that discretion to them. And then with Finance Committee, checking and making sure that it's stuff that it can actually fund. So I would be against this amendment because why would sustainability bills have to go through 3 different processes when every other bill we have goes through 2? So with that, I will yield.
Senator Zastro.
Just as far as this going through Finance Committee goes, this account, Green Initiatives, is not bound by PNC. So, Senator Klass, can you think of a reason that this would need to come through Finance Committee?
Yes, only because we know the accounting side more and maybe what COA will see and can speak a little bit to what Jamie wants, basically.
So maybe just the general approval of the finance director would be a better way to think about this. In the finance director, typically attending Senate meetings, with the exception of this semester, having Senate look at this and not Finance Committee, I think would be a more efficient way to do this process.
Can you, first off, is that a question?
Are you asking Senator Klass? Because
Senator Klass, what do you think about that statement?
Great. So are you saying that you don't want it to come to finance, you just want the finance director's approval and then come to Senate?
I wasn't thinking the explicit approval of the finance director. I was just thinking Senate could look at it, and that's when the finance director can make their opinion known.
Okay. I think to save, I think it should go to Finance Committee, and that would just make the process quicker. And that's seemingly what we're trying to do. Yes, this seems to be an anomaly that the Finance Director cannot come to Senate meetings this semester. Madison is watching. But I think that if they come to Finance Committee, it'd be the same as them coming to Senate. And seemingly how we usually treat bills that come from student government things, we usually accept them fully, usually. And also, the Finance Director may or may not be able to come sometime in the future as well. So instead of leaving that up to chance, they can always be at the Finance Committee meetings. So I think putting it in finance is better. I'm done answering.
Okay. I appreciate that point. I think it's a good one. I would also just like to note there's only $15,000 allocated to this account every year. So these are not going to be large transactions that Senate would not be seeing if Senate did not see them. With that, I yield.
Senator Mass.
Okay, so this process as a whole is very, very new. In fact, just last spring, the Finance Committee put these bills back under the jurisdiction of the Finance Senate. At the time, there was a lot of concern on Finance Committee that maybe funding was being approved without going through the proper channels of the Finance Committee. They just wanted to have that extra level of oversight. So that's why this process is the way it is currently. I guess the thing that I would encourage, there's a reason why Senate looks over bills in the first of small purchases. Even if a club came in and wanted $500 outside of its allocation, you would still have to pay something on those. So it's not really an argument that just small look at it. I think it's really, because because we are the body that's completely elected by the students, we have things like this, so it makes sense. I understand Vice Speaker Schrader's point that like there's like 2 committees and then it gets to Senate, so it's a lot of eyes on it. And I understand that, but in the end, like sustainability committee is looking at it from a very different angle than finance committee is. Sustainability is at this project, finance committee isn't making that judgment. They're making that, okay, this that money. So I think you're actually getting having 2 committees looking at it. So I like the process the way it is. I particularly don't understand why this is coming from a big chapter rewrite bill. I think like if we're going to talk about this, maybe we should talk about the code bill instead of considering a template series of other basically changes that basically have very little impact on the process of how it's run. I think that well maybe I know I made this amendment in rules committee specifically because I don't remember having a discussion about this during the finance rules joint committee meeting this semester. I don't I don't specifically remember having a ton of debate on this during the finance rules committee meeting. I don't remember it being a particular process that we thought needed a lot of change. So let's leave the process the way it is. It's not broken. Don't fix it. With that, I yield.
Senator. Thank you, Senator Class, for clarifying. Senator Stanley.
Yeah, so are we good? Okay, good. Finance Director Mueller and I wrote this bill last year, and how we intended it to work, this process was to work, is that Sustainability Committee would be voting on the merits of the project, like Senator Mass stated, and that Finance Committee would be voting on, or would be, I suppose, auditing whether or not COA could disperse the funds in a very procedural sense. So in that sense, Senator Zastro, it might actually, your suggestion might work in that the finance director could just take a look at it and say, yes, COA can give the money out, or no, they can't. Senate was never intended to have, that sounds bad. This is not a discretionary issue of Senate. Senate, I don't anticipate will ever go against something that both the Sustainability Committee and Finance Committee have both approved. This is just, we just want to bring these bills to Senate so that they are kept in the loop, so to speak. And the past director of sustainability, Tony Slew, agreed with this idea as well. Finance Director Mueller agreed with this idea last year as well when we were discussing. Would our current sustainability director care to weigh in on what they think of the process?
So when I was transitioned in from Tony, I talked a lot about the whole process with Green Initiative Fund. And it's kind of a new one, and not everybody understands how it should be dealt with yet. But she was telling me that it's kind of a lengthy process with the 3 approvals, and that she's never seen a case where Sustainability Committee approves it, Finance Committee approves it, and then Senate denies it. And so I understand the merits of having it in Senate, but it makes it really difficult for us. Like, I'm trying to get funding right now, and I have to plan so far in advance because of all the approval processes and all of the meetings I have to go to. Like, I need funding the second week in March, and I'm already working on it because I'm concerned about the processes. So that's just my 2 cents on that.
Are we good? Okay, cool. And that makes sense, certainly. And I think that streamlining it in another way, like having just the finance director look at it as opposed to the whole committee, would save a lot of time as well. As it is, though, I think we appreciate having the chance to look at these kinds of bills, because otherwise I know that not everyone would be up to date on what sustainability is doing especially as per their funding requests. And I think on a fund that doesn't have to comply with PNC, I think that that's even more important that we know what's going on, just in a general informative sense. So I think that we can try and streamline that process a bit more, but this isn't the way to do it. With that, I'll yield.
Senator Searles.
So as a senator on the committee, maybe I'll make some points. Be first here. That being said, there are senators on the committee. There's multiple of us. So we do see it. 3 of us, 4 of us. 4 of us. Yeah. There are 4 of us that sit on the committee, so we do see it, and we are aware of funding. Now, we're not on finance committee, so we're not into the deep of it. Deep. Sorry. And I'd like to say we actually just voted last night on one, and we do put scrutiny into the projects. And not just the projects on the impact of sustainability, but the money use. I mean, we went as far as delaying the vote because we were unsure if there was correct allocation of funds for a project that was being voted on. So that is something that comes across our minds. We do think about it. My standpoint, what I think, my obviously not doesn't matter standpoint, is that it should go through finance committee or some finance, maybe committee members or the finance director. I think finance committee is fine. I don't see a reason to bring it to Senate. If you want updates, we could give updates. There are multiple committee reports. We could also just throw one in the end. I think there's an easy way to do that other than delaying the process 3 weeks. I also think that because there's senators on the committee, it's not synonymous with a club request, because we are still seeing it. So it's almost like we're double filtering our sustainability. So like the fund is intended to have a specific purpose, and we have a committee that's in charge of it so that that it can be carried out with a specific purpose. But by bringing it through Senate, we really just kind of take away some of that purpose because it could be voted no. And so we could say, you know, this is going to have a sustainable impact, a good impact on the community, on the university. Finance committee said, yeah, this is fine. But then if Senate votes no, that just undoes the process and the reason for this distinction in the first place. So there are senators seeing it. We are there. We know the process. So I'd like to just remind us of that, and that we are putting scrutiny into both the projects and whatever it was supposed to be last year with former sustainability director. I was never told that process, so I was never told just to focus on the projects and not the money side, but we focus on all of it. So I would like to strike out. I guess vote yes on the amendment, vote no on the amendment, because it says not. So I yield.
I would just like to add Senator Ritchie to the room, and I yield.
Yeah, so 2 things. Senator Meredith, you're on PR committee. How do you guys deal with your money?
We just get to make the decisions within our committee. So when we come up with an idea and we're like, yeah, that sounds good, I text Madison. I'm like, go buy this for us, please. I was actually going to make that point in that PR has money and we don't have to ask Senate how to use it. I think that if you ever came across a committee or if they ever started to spend their money on things that you didn't feel like was fitting, you could maybe address it with the people on the committee or the director of that committee if that became an issue, rather than potentially adding more time for something that hasn't been an issue yet. Yeah, that's all I have. Do you have any other questions?
Cool. Okay, and then to Director of Sustainability. Or just possibly anyone in general that might be able to answer this. I don't think I can do that, but if someone wants to raise your hand if you can answer. So why do they have to vote on it before they like? I get why finance has to vote on things, but like civic engagement, you can just like have an idea and then you write a bill and then you send it. Why is that process different for sustainability?
Why does sustainability committee vote on it?
Yes.
I think because we feel that it's our money. I mean,
That's-
it's our initiative, and that's kind of what we want to look for
Okay.
on campus. And we also work with a lot of student initiatives on campus that are sustainability oriented. So it's nice to be able to support them through the process and also help vote and advocate.
Cool. And then President Graber, what do you have to add?
Yeah, so also the nature of the sustainability committee is that they fund other students' projects, not their own, like PRs, like they're funding their own stuff. And so I think that's why they vote on it.
Gotcha.
Because it's students coming up and asking for
Okay,
requests.
cool. So there's already more barriers. I don't know. I don't think it needs to come to Senate. One thing that I'm gonna yield. That's yep.
Vice Speaker Schroeder. Senator Ludwig.
Yeah, so when this amendment was discussed in Rules Committee, I seconded and I voted for it. After kind of some of the discussion, I would lean towards, I guess, not striking the wording or at least amending it in some manner. I'm not going to make an amendment because Vice Speaker Schrader looks a little unhappy with that idea. But yeah, I understand the concerns on both sides of this debate. But I think the example of PR committee is a fair one, and I think when we appoint members to the sustainability committee, we should appoint them with the understanding that we are giving them a certain amount of financial power. If there are senators that are uncomfortable, I guess, with having an account of that size be limited just to sustainability and finance committee, then maybe we could set that a funding measure over some amount had to come to Senate. But other than that, I think the example of PR, the fact that we should be trusting the people we put on sustainability, I don't know. The alternative here is like we should be consistent with our other committees, or we should just trust our sustainability members. I think 3 different voting measures over, I assume it probably takes close to 3 or 4 weeks to get the whole thing done. It's a long period of time. It pushes the preparation for events to be much longer than it needs to be. Yeah, that's my thoughts. I yield.
Yes.
Point of information, correct me if this isn't applicable, but the one that was voted on last night was a request from last semester. It was delayed because there was so much confusion about whether or not it was going to be a smart use of money and whether it was a fully thought out plan. That's how much scrutiny was put into it. So the trust thing.
Not a point of information, but thank you, Senator Searles, for the 2 cents.
Thank you.
Senator Mass.
Yeah, so I think that it's important that we not stray into the trust weeds. We've done that a couple times this semester, and I don't think the question or anyone is suggesting that we do not trust the committee. But I think we can instead talk about the authority, though, of the Senate is that we are elected. And yes, we do appoint people on committees to help us because they have specific expertise on issues that it allows them to look at things longer than the rest of us do. But at the end of the day, we as a whole body should vote on the things that we fund when we're giving them to outside organizations. The PR committee example, in my mind, is something completely different in that we have allocated a certain amount of money that we're going to spend on a very specific thing. We're spending it on PR items. That's what it's getting spent on. The difference is there could be a club who wants to do some sort of green initiative who comes to this committee, and then we need to approve them. So it's important that the entire Senate looks at that rather than just 2 committees. I get it's a long process. I don't particularly like that we're going through 2 committees before it goes to Senate. I'd rather that it just go through 1 committee. Maybe that's something that we need to look at in the future. It's maybe the way that we structure sustainability or whatever sustainability committee, sustainability committee, we need to structure in such a way so that maybe we have the finance director sit as an ex officio member or something like that, so that they can have that conversation. Or, do what Senator Zastro was suggesting earlier, where the finance director at least provides comment to the Senate before it comes to them. There are ways that we can speed this up, but I don't think the way to speed it up is to take it out of Senate's hands. Because ultimately, we are the ones in charge of good administration of the funds, not our individual committees. Everything committees do, they should and come back to Senate when we're talking about spending money. That's my percent.
Do you yield? Senator Stanley.
Senators Meredith or Han Young, either of you can answer this question. What is the main thing that PR spends their budget on?
First of all, y'all got to stop coming for PR. Second of all, mostly it's food and promotional materials for events.
Sure, and that's used for internal student government things?
What do you mean internal?
That's used for the benefit of student government sanctioned and sponsored activities.
Yes, but those go out to the student body.
Sure,
So,
of course.
yeah.
I'd like to note that there is a particular set of words in the relevant bylaw that allow for allocations to be made by the Sustainability Committee to students. Students, plural, a group of students. No other fund has this provision, and we argued for half an hour at our meeting last year about this. It was a very contentious debate, and the way we settled that debate is to have, if Sustainability Committee foresaw any issues, for them to have a Finance Committee member present at their meeting, for the bill to then go to Finance Committee to just ascertain that it was possible to fund the request, and then for the bill to come to Senate, just so we were kept aware of if anything could have the potential to go awry, shall we say. Now, I'd like to reiterate that I understand that there is an issue currently with timing, and I think that there are very efficient ways to streamline it. Senator Zastro has already given one, and if there's one already, I think that there could be other options. And I would be very open into looking into those options if anyone would like to collaborate with me on a fact-finding mission, shall we say. But at the moment, I think that the PR example is flawed. I don't think that it is, I think it's a false equivalence, what is trying to be set up here. And I'll reiterate what Senator Mass said. This isn't a trust issue. I just want to know what's going on, please. I don't think you can claim to be, diligent financial stewards to groups who come in this room and then give up this authority. It won't take, even 3 minutes just for you to hear a funding bill and say, okay, we know what's going on here. I like that. And I understand, Senator Searles, that you can give updates to us. That's fine, and I trust you to do that. But I would like to hear it myself from the words of the group that's in front of me, and I would like to be able to ask them questions in person. And I don't think you can begrudge me that, honestly. There are things that, there are things that I would like to ask group members, potentially, that just an update from a committee member or the director wouldn't be sufficient to answer. So there are a lot of nuances here, and I think striking this for now and trusting, if you will, your Rules Committee and your Finance Committee and your Sustainability Committee to cooperate actively, starting from this moment, Senator Klass, to find a solution to this problem. I think that that would be the best course of action as things stand. I'll yield.
Senator Klein.
Yes, someone please raise their hand because I have no idea who to direct this question to. Why does sustainability not give a committee report at the beginning of all of our Senate meetings? Yeah.
They are not a Senate committee.
Dope. All right. Oh, yeah.
So they are in the executive branch, so we can actually continue to that. Izzy actually just mentioned that to me. So we can do that from now on.
I think
just
that's a
have her
phenomenal
add her
idea.
little blurb during my comments. So there you go.
I'm all about that idea. All right, and then just a really quick semantic point. I realize that this is a broken record by the time it got around to me, but for a Senate body that just declared a campus climate emergency, adding steps to the process to approve funding for sustainability projects seems kind of silly to me. I'm very interested in finding ways to shorten this process. However we can do that. I yield.
Vice Speaker Schroeder.
Okay. Not only is PR PR is not the only account that doesn't come to Senate. Legislative Relations does not come to Senate, which has $40,000 in it that only needs the president's approval to be spent. There's something there. Exec-Inish doesn't need to come to Senate either. It requires a vote of cabinet. And I think that we all know how we want to vote. I refuse to believe there's anyone in this room that does not know how they're voting on this. So I will call to question.
There's been a call to question on the amendment, and there's been a second. Are there any objections? Seeing none, one moment. Yes. Yes, sir. Definitely. So, if this amendment passes, the bill or the allocation for Green Initiative does not have to come through Senate. It would only go through Finance. Oh, it's not. Sorry, it's double negative. Thank you, Senator. So if this passes, it will come to Senate. If this amendment does not pass, it does not come to Senate. Get that? Double negative? All right. Not pass, not Senate. Thank you, Speaker Culbertson. All right. Placard vote. Senators for this amendment, please raise their placards now. I'm glad I don't have to break this vote. Senators against, please raise their placards now. Y'all are eager. Abstentions. The noes have it. The amendment fails. Moving back to Speaker Culbertson.
Okay, so that was kind of, in a way, our biggest change, but I will talk through the rest of the changes really quick. Let me find my list really quick. So we had discussed getting rid of 11.3.4.1.3.2 through that whole string .4. So if you look in your emails, I have sent you a document that has these next couple ones that I'm about to mention. Basically, these were for sponsored orgs. The only reason we're deleting these is because we thought that the other stuff in this portion of the bylaws that talks about sponsored organizations kind of covered these things. So we thought this just seemed repetitive. So that's the only reason we're getting rid of this. It's not really changing too much, really just getting rid of things that we thought kind of already fell into those other things that were in that portion of that. So that was that. And then we got, okay, and I'm going to maybe defer to Senator Class after I say this next one because I want to make sure, because I don't. So we ended up striking 11.6.2. It had something about, it was all about line item transfers. I've included all of that in that document as well. But Senator Class, do you remember, I guess, kind of why we did that from a finance committee standpoint, why we did that? Also, apparently, Senator Zastrow.
I believe as the wording was already written, you were only able to line item transfer two lines that you'd already requested money for. But since the way that we do line items, if you're changing a trip from Milwaukee to Chicago, that's considered a separate line item, which would mean like almost every line item we go through we shouldn't have been doing, which is whack. So we're just getting rid of that.
Senator Claus?
So that's because OFP is really old and we can't change like descriptions in it. So to like change what that funding's for, we have to make a new line item. And so this whole little section didn't make it work for us.
Fabulous. So that was, again, with the help of Finance Committee, because obviously I don't know a lot about that. So that's why that section got struck. And then, the next one that's on there is what you all just edited. So beyond that, we also made some edits to 11.5. Literally all we did to that was just add like annual in there because some of it just said like allocation cycle. So we just put the word annual in there since we talk about annual allocations a lot. Vice Speaker Schrader, was there anything else? Okay, just grammar fixes. So that is all on that. If anyone has any comments, questions on any of that stuff, we will hear those now. So I yield.
I should know this, but did we say we were going to cut all of that section of the line item transfers? Okay. Just wondered. Yeah, okay.
To you. Questions, discussion. Vice Speaker Schrader.
We got rid of all references to the student government capital docket too, which no longer exists, and since we got rid of the depreciation account, should no longer exist. So we got rid of that as well. Or not, maybe not. Senator Class?
Sorry, sometimes I think I'm loud enough. IT is doing something different. We are going to have like a Google Sheet for it, but it's going to be basically university-wide, I think was what I was being told by COA. Jamie was talking about it with Madison one day. So as clubs are coming through annual allocations, we're having them fill that out if they have a capital item that was funded previously. We're still getting rid of the depreciation account because we haven't used it in 3 years. However, so it's not capital docket anymore, but it's still going to be in existence because of university policy type things.
So deleting it out of this section where the finance director is responsible for it is still fine?
Yes.
Okay, so that's what we did. So, good deal. With that, I'll call to question.
There's been a call to question on the bill as a whole, and there's been a second. Are there any objections? Seeing none, we'll move into a roll call vote. Bender. Blair. Khan. Crab. Colbertson. Dowdlinger. Fritz. Green. Gonzalez. Hanyang. Beasley. Johnson. Class. Klein. Lifford. Ludwig. Yes or no? Mass. Meredith. Mitchell. Rinchi. Rolling. Schrader. Searles. Stanley. Toinette. Zastro. 23 to 1 to 1. With a vote of 23 to 1 to 1, this bylaw change bill passes. Moving on to new business with 2019-3-23F, funding a presentation controller. Senator Searles.
Title. Yeah, so basically this is just a Bluetooth controller to control like PowerPoints for program speakers. Vice Speaker Schrader has been doing a great job, but I feel that we could use, it's a cheap cost we could use it for multiple things. And we'll see you next week.
Questions of intent? Seeing none, we'll see this one next week. Moving on to 2019-3-14 SR, support of comprehensive tobacco-free campus policy with Senator Searles.
Title. All right, so I'm going to read the statement from Senator Alucard quick. Quote, the purpose of this bill is to encourage the university to adopt a tobacco-free policy and establish education standards about the policy in order to create a safer and healthier environment here at Iowa State. Student wellness and representatives will be here next week to answer questions and allow for further discussion, but support of tobacco-free campus would improve the overall campus health and wellness of students, staff, faculty, and anyone else affiliated with the university. See you next week.
Questions of intent? Seeing none, we'll see this one next week. Moving on to 2019-3-15Y, Finance Director Scholarship Change with Vice Chair Lifford.
Title. So yeah, this is just a change. Right now the finance director gets a 3-4 scholarship, and just talking with Bender and Treasurer Doherty, we believe that they do a lot. Like Madison does a lot, Seth did a lot. They have 10 hours of office hours a week, and then they have to do annuals, constantly answering emails to clubs and organizations. So I feel it's a welcome change, and so glad to hear discussion next week.
Questions of intent? Seeing none, we'll see this one next week. Closing announcements. Senator Rowling.
Hi, so one of my lovely senators emailed me to ask who was nominated for the Women in STEM banners. The 5 that we have selected from the committee, 1 undergraduate, Carissa Moyna, 2 graduate students, Beatrice Berzina and Mindy Hoover, and 2 faculty members, Dr. Heike Hoffman and Dr. Caroline Hayes. I yield.
Senator Searles.
Sorry about the false point of information earlier. I totally know what a point of information is. I'm just stupid.
Yeah, it's on the back of your placard. Right?
Yeah, I know. I read that. Yeah. I should have point of information, just that. Just over the next few weeks, since we're running out of time, I'm just going to throw this out there now so y'all are aware. There's going to be at least 2 resolutions coming through my end to y'all that are a little bit lengthier before our sessions end. One is the Layout Acknowledgement of Native Displacement Act, or the LAND Act, in support of a permanent land acknowledgement in Parks Library that I've been working on. And then the second one is a hopeful, still tentative, improvements to the student accommodations processes and accommodation notification letter for classes. More information to be had, but also these are projects that are probably going to be multi-year projects, at least the land acknowledgements. So if anyone is running to be a senator next year and would like to possibly be involved pending election, talk to me and I'll tell you about the projects and can give you some more information. Definitely going to need some people on them through following year, next year, but as they come up, we'll talk about it then. So just wanted y'all to be aware.
Senator Zastro.
Just going right off of what Senator Shields had to say, there are going to be some more resolutions coming through in the next couple weeks. I really encourage you to read them more than 10 minutes before the Senate meeting starts. I know that I have not always done that perfectly well. I think these are things that we all should be reading through thoroughly, checking the footnotes, making sure the date is accurate, because these are things that really matter that the future will be reflected on based on how we vote, and these are really impactful. So please do homework on them. I yield.
Senator Meredith.
Ian, do you want to do the Senate recap? Okay, thanks.
Senator Ludwig.
Okay. So, I don't know if y'all read the Rules Committee meeting minutes this week. They're fire, and I recommend it. Thank you to Senator Stanley for clerking in that meeting. I'd like to apologize for the things that were said about PR committee. I think someone, Kelsey, used PR committee as an example, and then I think we all just kind of kept using it as an example. Yeah, don't come after me, Stanley. So I do want to apologize about that. But on something a little bit more fun, I didn't find it towards the end of the debate we were having tonight on the funding bill, but I found something funny that I thought you might all appreciate. I searched up the conference and the word rave, and it took me to a website. And the other raves that are listed is a donut festival and an open house for an old post office. So I think Chicago's having a great time. I thought I'd just like to throw that out there for you. So if you want to go to the old post office open house in Chicago, I think it's next Tuesday at 5. So just, something to look for. All right. On to my typical lectures update. Again, guys, go see lectures. They're awesome. There's one tomorrow. It's the Future of Human Robotic Interaction with Dr. Kate Darling. That one looks really awesome. There's going to be an actual robot there, so go. I don't know how to sell this to you guys anymore. It's at 7 p.m. in the Great Hall here in the Memorial Union tomorrow. Go. On Monday, there's the Power One with Aaron Brockovich, which is a part of the 2020 Symposium on Sustainability. I know that, is this one that you're super excited about, Kelsey? Kelsey's super excited about it. That means all have to go. It's at 7 p.m. in the Great Hall. Recommend it. And yeah, those are the ones coming up within the next week. So keep a lookout for those to try and find time to get to them. I might not be here next week because of a test. So if anyone wants to give the lectures update next week, at me, so we can set it up. But lastly, I know it's starting to get busy in the semester. Tests are coming around. I've got 2 of them next week and a couple other things due. So take care of yourselves. We're starting to ramp up more and more. I know some people are getting sick. I almost came down with something earlier this week. So yeah, take care of yourself, guys. It's a long semester. There's a lot left. I yield.
Senator Stanley.
I would like to first note that I did not take any creative liberties, shall we say, with the rules minutes from this week. Everything that was in there was exactly as the speaker had uttered those words. Moving on, we just had our meeting with Chief Newton for the Student Advisory Board. It was very productive. Our next meeting is tentatively scheduled for March 11th, I believe. So if you have any issues of concern that you would like us to discuss with him, please let us know, as we will be, it sounds like, setting the agenda for that meeting. And lastly, good debate. I haven't had a debate like that in a while. Got me fired up. But my offer still stands. If anybody would like to work with me on streamlining the sustainability funding process, come talk to me after Senate, and we will plan something, just like we did last year. With that, I'll yield.
President Gruber.
This is mostly for Vice Speaker Schrader. Check your emails on Friday. There's going to be a mass email regarding the Supreme Court applications, so look out for that. Also, Senator Hanyang's the only one that's hit me up on the hot chocolate, so anyone else interested, let me know.
Senator Class.
Yeah, I just want to put on the record that I'm sorry about my email, and I'm learning Computer Science Etiquette 101. I will not hit reply all. Don't use the shortcuts on Google email. They're a scam. And I yield.
I mean, Grammarly is a good option you could use. Beautiful Senator Tonette.
Hello, everyone. I know you all know that I love my debates. So tonight, the Democratic debate is happening right now. I'm sure you all aren't tired of watching them by this point, but it's going until 10 o'clock. If you want to see what someone who's worth $64 billion looks like in real life, this would be a good way to do it. So watch it. It's probably going to be pretty spicy. So if you get home a little early today, flip on MSNBC and watch the fun.
Senator Hanyang.
On behalf of Senator Meredith and I, we accept all the apologies that were made about comments for PR. No hard feelings. Well, okay, I accept them. But on another note, I did walk past, I'm part of IVC Singers, and we did walk past the music hall sign. It's been taken down, and it will be replaced with the Simon Estes Music Hall sign pretty soon. So that has gotten some people in there talking about March 4th. March 4th, cool. So not that long from now. It's got some music hall kids talking if it's going to be called informally Estes Hall, Simon Hall, or Mess Hall. So.
Simon Estes.
Music, not Mess. Simon Estes, so Sem Hall, my bad.
So, anyone have anything? Okay. As what Senator Hanyang mentioned, so President Renacine did email out an open invitation to all the students. So if you are available to celebrate that success, make sure to stop by. It's on March 4th, and doors open at 4:30. And the program includes a musical performance, which will begin at 5, with the reception to follow. So if you are available on the March 4th, it'll be really, it's a big achievement in terms of a good recognition to one of our prestige professors within the music department. So it's a great way to celebrate. On a lighter note, since I won't be here next week, Madam Speaker will be chairing this the meeting. So please be easy on her. Yeah, only good point of information, please. Vice Speaker Schrader.
So if you have noticed the cut on my forehead, the door in the West Sauce had it coming. But Otherwise, so there is a rule in student government, you can't use your phones during the meetings. We've been pretty good at that up until today. I noticed a lot of people had their phones out, so I will start enforcing that. So please don't use your phone during the meetings so we can stay engaged and you're present here at the meeting representing students. And then another just point is, it's against Roberts to impugn the motives of senators. We got very close. There are points you can make without specifically calling out people, especially as it is against the rules of our Senate. Please do your best to be respectful of the other people in the room and their viewpoints. Try and argue, burst their ideas, not burst them. So with that, I will yield.
Madam Speaker.
On that note, I hope you're all brought sides because there's about to be a roast of my little committee members over here. So for those of you who didn't know, PR was actually my first committee, so it holds a special place in my heart, and I was the vice chair. So I'm qualified to talk about PR committee, unlike you two. But no, actually for PR, I said that, because I want to clear this up, because I feel bad that it literally looks like I was just like tearing up PR, but actually I said that like it's a really hard committee to get like people to partake in, so that was what I was talking about when we talked about PR. So I love you too. But no, actually, so I hope you all have a good rest of your week. Please take care of yourselves. Like actually, like the flu is going around, so please don't get that because that would be really sad, and I'd feel horrible to think of you all like really sick. So please take care of yourselves. Drink like orange juice and soup and all that good stuff. So go Cyclones. Move to adjourn.
Objections? Adjourn.